In this video, we will analyze how the Crimea crisis is so huge that it is now visible from space. Here, thousands of cars rushed the last route out of Crimea, now jamming the Kerch Bridge with thousands of cars at a complete standstill. Russian authorities declared a state of emergency to stop the crisis, but risked this decision to backfire and cause even more tension. Recently released satellite imagery reveals the scale of Crimea's growing crisis in remarkable detail, with traffic congestion near and on the Kerch Bridge so extensive that it is clearly visible from space. The footage shows that the queues now stretch for more than 10 kilometers and approximately 3,000 vehicles waiting to leave the peninsula at peak moments. The delays result not only from the number of people wanting to leave, but also from repeated closures during Ukrainian drone alerts, intensified security inspections, and worsening logistical disruption across Crimea. The atmosphere has become even more striking through videos showing the few motorists still driving into Crimea, strapping industrial fuel tanks onto the roofs of their cars and connecting them directly to their fuel tanks with hoses. The improvised setup is extremely dangerous, creating obvious fire and explosion risks, yet many drivers appear willing to accept those dangers simply to carry enough gasoline to be able to escape the peninsula once they finished what they came to Crimea to do. Russian military decisions are simultaneously making the situation even worse, as Russian commanders have redirected both civilian and military traffic onto the Kerch Bridge. Instead of being one of several transport arteries, the bridge has become the peninsula's primary logistics lifeline, working beyond its practical capacity due to the Ukrainian strikes that have repeatedly disrupted the Melitopol-Mariupol corridor and heavily damaged northern Crimean crossings. Additionally, every Ukrainian drone or missile alert immediately halts traffic, while Russian forces deploy smoke screens, activate air defenses, and conduct emergency inspections. During these closures, vehicles continue arriving at checkpoints, even though none are allowed to cross, causing queues to grow rapidly. Military convoys, fuel trucks, civilian traffic, and freight vehicles all compete for the same limited crossing. Rather than solving Russia's logistics problems, rerouting traffic has concentrated nearly everything onto a single vulnerable bottleneck, whose overload is now visible from space. The resulting congestion has forced Russian authorities to adopt extraordinary measures, declaring a state of emergency within Crimea. This grants them broad powers to restrict civilian movement and establish procedures to prioritize military transportation over civilian traffic. Officially, the emergency addresses financial, infrastructure, and recovery challenges, but in practice, it allowed authorities to preserve valuable bridge capacity for the transport of fuel, ammunition, military equipment, and troop reinforcements instead. The emergency measures therefore aim to manage the deteriorating infrastructure situation while ensuring the bridge remains available for sustaining Russian military operations despite mounting civilian frustration. That frustration reflects deteriorating conditions throughout the peninsula, as residents increasingly complain that gasoline has become unavailable and that public transportation is being disrupted because minibuses cannot obtain sufficient fuel. These shortages coincide with repeated Ukrainian strikes targeting Crimea's broader energy network, including the Kerch and Simferopol thermal power plants, electrical substations, gas compressor stations, and various major and minor fuel and gas depots. Together, these attacks have affected electricity generation, gas distribution, fuel storage, and logistics simultaneously, causing rolling blackouts, water supply disruptions, and persistent fuel shortages affecting civilian life. Instead of easing the burden by facilitating departures, Russian authorities are using emergency powers to preserve transport capacity, primarily for military logistics. Civilians therefore bear much of the cost of sustaining Russian operations, finding themselves trapped by restrictions, while essential supplies are increasingly directed toward the military. Overall, the situation in Crimea has reached a point where its scale is visible even from space, as kilometer-long traffic jams at the Kerch Bridge, emergency restrictions, fuel shortages, and repeated infrastructure disruptions demonstrate the growing strain placed upon the peninsula. Russia's response has increasingly focused on controlling movement rather than reducing the underlying pressures. By preserving limited crossing capacity for its own priorities while restricting civilian departures, the Russian authorities risk further increasing public dissatisfaction. As transport bottlenecks persist and infrastructure remains under pressure, tensions across Crimea are likely to continue rising, making the peninsula an increasingly difficult region for Russia to administer and sustain. To watch uncensored combat footage that we used in this report, check out our interactive news map. Here we are unrestricted by the YouTube policies and can finally show you the full uncut version of what really happened. But what is even more important, this map will give you access to all our analysis of significant events that go far beyond of what we can include in our short daily videos. Finally, we are officially releasing the second generation of our interactive map. What you are seeing on your screen right now is a significantly enhanced and far more powerful version of the map that has even more advanced features and news analytics tools. To celebrate the launch of the new map, we are also launching a 50% sale on all subscription plans. Starting from just $4.99, you will not only gain premium access to the map, but you will also unlock all our exclusive strategic updates, frontline overviews, and strategic geopolitics videos. So check out the link in the description to become an exclusive member of our community. I truly appreciate everyone who stepped up to join us. Your support means the world to us.